Most people think manipulation starts with lies. It doesn't. It starts the moment someone makes you feel like you have to explain yourself. Because the moment you start defending your intentions, you stop controlling the conversation. Now you are reacting, and the person making you react is already in control. Every extra sentence, every unnecessary justification, every attempt to prove your intentions, you think you are creating clarity. But psychologically, you are giving away power. And the dangerous part is, the people most vulnerable to this are often the smartest in the room. Because intelligent people believe truth should be enough. Manipulators know better. They don't need you to misunderstand. They just need you emotional. So they provoke. They twist simple words. They drag you into emotional chaos. Not to understand you, but to see how easily they can destabilize you. And the moment you start over-explaining, you stop leading the conversation. You start chasing validation. That is the trap. Because, in the end, the person trying hardest to be understood is often the one losing control. Nobody is born over-explaining. It is learned. Usually in environments where your emotions, choices, or boundaries were constantly questioned. As a child, maybe you had to explain why you were upset, why you said no, why you needed space. And slowly, your brain learned something dangerous. If I explain myself well enough, maybe I'll finally be accepted. So you grow older defending harmless decisions. Why you did not reply. Why you changed your mind. Why you left. Why something felt wrong. You explain. Then explain again, hoping clarity will finally earn peace. But over-explaining rarely comes from clarity. It comes from the fear of being misunderstood or rejected. Confident people do not feel the need to justify every decision they make. That is why powerful people speak differently. Short sentences, clear boundaries, very little emotional leakage. Not because they are cold, but because they understand a brutal truth about human psychology. The more desperate you become to be understood, the less authority people feel from you. And manipulators know that better than anyone. They keep you explaining, keep you defending, keep you reacting. Because the moment you are trapped proving your intentions, they already control your emotional state. Manipulators rarely attack directly. The intelligent ones do something worse. They make you defend yourself. Notice how certain people keep pulling you into explanation mode. Why did you say that? What did you mean by that? Why are you acting different? You're overreacting. That doesn't make sense. It sounds harmless. But psychologically, they are pushing you into a position where you feel forced to justify yourself. And the moment you start defending yourself emotionally, the power dynamic changes instantly. Because now, instead of observing them, you are trying to earn their understanding. That is the trap. Manipulators know that when emotions rise, clarity disappears. So they keep questioning, keep twisting your words, keep pretending to be confused. Not because they do not understand, but because your emotional reaction gives them control. The more frustrated you become, the more you explain. And the more you explain, the more guilty you seem. Eventually, you stop communicating naturally. Now you are performing, carefully choosing every word, trying not to be misunderstood, trying to prove your intentions. And over time, you become afraid of saying the wrong thing. That is what manipulation does. It does not just control your emotions. It slowly reshapes your behavior. This is why emotional manipulators often target insecure communicators. Because people who constantly seek approval are the easiest to control. And the most dangerous manipulators do not silence you. They make you question yourself so much that eventually you silence yourself. Silence makes most people uncomfortable, especially people who are emotionally reactive, because silence forces people to sit with uncertainty. And uncertainty makes the human brain uncomfortable. That is why so many people rush to fill silence with explanations. But psychologically, silence creates something powerful: control over the emotional pace of the interaction. The person who can stay calm without constantly defending themselves usually controls the interaction, not through aggression, through emotional stability. That is why highly respected people rarely over-explain. They say what they mean, then they stop talking. No panic, no long explanations, no emotional leakage. Because they understand something most people never learn. Not everyone deserves access to your inner reasoning. And the moment you stop needing everyone to understand you, you become harder to manipulate. Calm people are difficult to control, because manipulation depends on emotional reactions. If someone cannot trigger guilt, confusion, or defensiveness, their control starts to weaken. That is why silence feels powerful. It interrupts psychological momentum. It forces the other person to reveal themselves instead. And suddenly, you start noticing who becomes uncomfortable. When you stop over-explaining, that tells you everything you need to know. This does not only affect arguments, it affects attraction too. Think about the people who naturally command respect. They are usually calm, grounded, certain. Now compare that to someone who constantly explains themselves, constantly proves their intentions, constantly clarifies, constantly tries to avoid being misunderstood. The energy feels completely different, because certainty attracts. Desperation repels. Over-explaining subconsciously communicates, "I need your approval to feel secure." And people feel that energy immediately. The more someone tries to force understanding, the less powerful they appear, because true confidence does not chase validation. This is why emotionally strong people can say very little and still control the entire atmosphere of a room. Their nervous system stays calm. Their identity does not collapse when someone disagrees with them. Most people cannot tolerate tension without reacting. So they rush to explain, rush to justify, rush to defend themselves. And that panic is visible. That is why silence often feels intimidating. Because emotionally disciplined people are rare. The ability to remain calm without over-explaining is a form of psychological power. One of the biggest mindset shifts you can develop is this: stop trying to make everyone understand you. Start noticing why some people pretend not to. That shift changes everything. Because many conversations are not searches for truth. They are power games. Some people ask questions to understand you. Others ask questions to control your emotional state. Learn the difference. Observers notice patterns. Debaters chase validation. The observer watches. Who interrupts constantly? Who twists your words? Who ignores context? Who suddenly acts confused the moment accountability appears? And once you recognize those patterns, you stop wasting energy trying to win impossible conversations. That is emotional intelligence. Not winning every argument. Protecting your mental clarity. Because intelligent people understand something deeply uncomfortable, not every misunderstanding deserves a correction. Some people are not trying to understand you. They are trying to pull you into emotional chaos. And the moment you start over-explaining, they know they've gained control. Ironically, intelligent people over-explain more than anyone. Because intelligent people believe logic can solve everything. They think, if I provide enough detail, fairness will follow. But emotionally reactive people do not process conversations logically. They process emotionally. That is why facts often fail during emotional conflict. Because the issue was never information. The issue was ego. And once ego enters a conversation, people stop searching for truth. They start protecting identity. That is why arguing with emotionally reactive people feels exhausting. You keep bringing clarity. They keep bringing emotion. And slowly, your intelligence turns against you. Because now, You are mentally overworking, just to keep the conversation grounded in reality. You explain more, clarify more, defend more, while they continue reacting emotionally. And, over time, that drains confidence, drains energy, drains peace. Eventually, you realize something unsettling. The problem was never your communication skills. The mistake was believing everyone valued honesty in the first place. Here's a tighter, more minimalist, high-impact version designed for maximum viral quote effect. Real power is not speaking the loudest. It is staying emotionally untouched. When people try to pull reactions out of you, it is saying what needs to be said, without defending your existence afterward. Not cold, just controlled. Selective energy, selective words, selective access. Because once you stop over-explaining, something shifts. Manipulation stops working. False narratives collapse. Emotional chaos loses access to you. And silence starts working in your favor. No mental rehearsals. No proving intentions. No emotional drain. From conversations that were never honest. Just clarity. And clarity changes everything. Because people don't control you with truth. They control you with your reaction. Remove the reaction, and you remove their control.